Welcome to Bible Study with Fred. I'm reading Leviticus chapter 15, making some comments today, so I hope you'll follow along with me in your Bible. Let's start with verses 1 to 18 first. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath a running issue out of his flesh because of his issue, he is unclean. I need to cut the phone off. Sorry about that. And this shall be his uncleanness in his issue, whether his flesh run with this issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. Every bed whereon he lieth that hath the issue is unclean, and everything wherein he sitteth shall be unclean. And whosoever touches his bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. He that sitteth on anything wherein he sat that hath the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until even. He that touches the flesh of him that hath the issue shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if he that hath the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that hath the issue shall be unclean. Whosoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until the even. He that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes, bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. Whosoever he toucheth that hath the issue, and hath not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And in vessel of the earth that he touches with that the issue shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he that hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord for his issue. If any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the even. Every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the even. The woman also with whom man shall lie with the seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean until the even. Okay, now, a running issue is a discharge from one's private parts. For instance, the woman who had the issue of blood, as reported in Matthew 9, Mark 5, and Luke 8, and in the next passage regarding menstruation. Reading some commentators, it appears it was understood that this was the result of a sexually transmitted disease, which is not surprising considering the sexual nature of ancient religion and the fact that ancient temples resembled in their practices modern day houses of prostitution as much as places of worship. The Hebrews living in Egypt would have been involved in what some scholars call, quote, sacred prostitution. Now, I'm referring to this passage in Leviticus. Don't want to misunderstand that. I'm not saying that that's the commentators don't mention that the issue of blood in Matthew 9, Mark 5, and Luke 8 are due to a sexually transmitted disease. That's I'm just talking about a comparison of the issue of blood. But the commentators about Leviticus, some of them say that it seems like this was referring to a sexually transmitted disease here in Leviticus. Sexual morality, even without the idolatrous religious implications, often produces unpleasant results. Psalm 38:7. For my loins are filled with a loathsome disease, and there is no soundness in my flesh. The contrast between this running issue and the seed of copulation in verse 16 shows that the running issue is not what medicine calls a nocturnal emission today. Verse 18 takes up matters of cleanliness after sexual union. First, we must realize that this ritual cure was dependent upon God responding to obedience for success. It is not a medical manual applicable to the heathen world, although they would have benefited from it if they had not been so filthy, unsanitary, and immoral. Still, it is not a stretch to see the public health benefits of these rules. Now we'll pick it up in verse 19 to the end of the chapter. If a woman have an issue, and her issue in their flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the even. Everything that she lieth upon her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whoso toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. Whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. If it be on her bed, or on anything wherein she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the even. If any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean. If a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. Every bed wherein she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation. And whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean as the uncleanness of her separation. And whosoever touches those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days. After that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take unto her 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness. Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from her uncleanness, their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness, when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. This is the law of him that hath an issue, of him whose seed goeth from him, and is defiled therewith. And of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that hath an issue, of the man, of the woman, of him that lieth with her, that is unclean. Now here's clearly a distinction, a discussion about menstruation. Verse 25 deals with an unusual situation like the woman who touched the hem of Jesus' garment mentioned earlier. And flowers is a euphemism for menstruation, like sleep in John 11:11 and 1 Corinthians 15:51 is a euphemism for death. And I want to reinforce that I was not implying that the issue of blood from the woman in Matthew 9, Mark 5, and Luke 8 had anything to do with sexually transmitted disease. I was referring to it as a comparison with the issue of blood here, but I was saying that some commentators say that here in Leviticus, it was understood that this was a result of an STD, what we were seeing in the first part. In the last part of this chapter of Leviticus 15, it has to do with a perfectly natural event that women deal with, younger women deal with every month. Okay, so we'll stop there, and we'll pick it up in chapter 16 next. And this part of Leviticus does get into topics that are kind of touchy. You might not, might not be something you want to listen to, but it is important, I think. So we'll pick it up next time. Please read your Bible, study your Bible, cross-reference the verses, pray to God for wisdom and understanding, and then share your interpretation with someone else. Thank you.